Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. Thamar Hindo, the author of the book The Holy Bible, An Archaeology of Mesopotamia, will present a summary of his book, and I would like to read the autobiography of my father. If you have any questions, they will be answered at the end, during refreshments. If you would like to purchase the book, please come to me and you can purchase it from me. Thank you. The author is an accredited Iraqi civil engineer who managed and accomplished numerous buildings and road projects. He was appointed to complete construction projects in the heart of the archaeological site of the ancient city of Babel in the late 1980s. Being proud of the heritage and civilizations of his country, they are recorded in the texts of the Holy Bible, and for those reasons, the idea began to develop into the belief that God devoted him to the diligence to produce this book. Despite the fact that the dates of some artifacts precedes the dates of any written text in the Holy Bible, acknowledging that the amount of documents extracted from the land of Mesopotamia, which is very modest in relation to the enormous volume of information in the contents of the Holy Bible, that does not decrease, increase, or change. The Holy Bible remains as the main source for the success of the archaeological exploration projects, which is the reason why the title of the book begins with the Holy Bible. The author presents various opinions selected from some publications that show the multiplicity of assumptions regarding successive topics related to each other. In the absence of concrete evidence, and to reach a single conclusion, the remaining possibility is to adhere to one hypothesis or find a suitable new one that corresponds to the sequence of events that took place in Mesopotamia. For instance, the creation, the existence of the four rivers branching from Garden of Eden, Genesis 2:10, the reality of the flood, which was confirmed by the epic Gilgamesh. Nimrud is not a sinister but a builder. King blessed of God, Genesis 10:9-10. And Abraham crossed the Euphrates River once, not 3 or 4 times. Joshua 24:3. And now presenting the author, Thamar Hindo.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for the presentation. The title of the book and the year of its publication, The Holy Bible and Archaeology of Mesopotamia, published in 2 successive editions, the first in July and the second in August of the year 2021. The author is not obligated to implement any of the agendas that associated with social or political, local or global organizations which might fund him or support him. Also, the author is not being led as if he is a part of a campaign to support or promote specific religious institutions. The concept and the meaning of the book's title. Mesopotamia is the modern Greek name for ancient Iraq, which consists of 2 words. The first, mesos, which means between or in the middle of, and the second, potamos, which means the rivers. Mesopotamia, in Greek, Mesopotamia, means the land between 2 rivers, Tigris and Euphrates, that were emerging from the Garden of Eden, documented by the man of God Moses in Genesis 2:14. Ancient Iraq, as well as the present-day Iraq, is represented by 2 great rivers and also by the first two greatest powerful empires on the surface of earth that were established by Nimrod, the son of Cush, the son of Ham, according to Genesis chapter 10. The treasures and antiquities of Mesopotamia, including epics, wall sculptures, writings engraved on clay tablets, reveals to us legendary Sumerian, Akkadian, and Babylonian figures such as Gilgamesh, Zuisadra, Utnapishtim, Enkidu, Sargon of Akkad, and Hammurabi. The goal of the book was not to produce a joint work or make a movie in which we mix these legendary characters with the group of God's men, prophets, and scribes, and the kings that were mentioned in the Holy Bible. In order to make the readers and the researchers more confused to the degree, as I explained in the book, that there are obvious signs of the disappearance and lack of attention to this material from libraries, media, and publishing houses. From page 67, I wrote, the Holy Bible confirms that the citizens of ancient Iraq were worshipping the Lord God along with the gods of Mesopotamia, or we can say the gods of nation. But it started from Mesopotamia. According to Joshua chapter 24, 2, that did not mean that we are able to engage and apply some of the epic characters in Genesis and claim that the gods Anu, Enlil, Anunnaki were employed by the Lord God of the Holy Bible in the mission of creating the heavens and earth, or to claim that Marduk, the principal god of Babel, with the assistance of the goddess Aruru, oversaw creating mankind. From page 61-62, I wrote archaeological performances on the upper layer of earth crust that have reached advanced level would not oppose saying that archaeology is still under construction. Archaeology is still under construction. On the other hand, the written Holy Bible's page are finished and completely documented and not under construction. Every word of the Holy Bible is archaeology speaking of itself, because it is a work of God, not only about what's happening in earth here, but also about our universe. The title of this book starts with the Holy because the Holy Bible is the main reference of archaeology, and also because of the massive additional biblical material that are presented compared to the Mesopotamian archaeological documents. And I thought I put the massive additional biblical. The editor, they removed the massive. I don't know why. I figured out now. It is actually a massive additional biblical material. That is why I divided the 7 chapters into 2 parts. The first, the biblical texts, and the second, the archaeological documents. Table of contents, preface, front matter. Chapter 1, the creation. Chapter 2, before the flood. Chapter 3, the flood. Chapter 4, after the flood. Chapter 5, departure of Abraham. It is more in all familiar book, they don't put the journey of Abraham, because the departure of Abraham from Ur the Chaldeans, it is changing the course of history, as all of the scientists agree. That's why they don't put the journey. It is everybody can do journey. But the departure of Abraham from Ur the Chaldean, that's what should be the title of chapter 5. Chapter 6, the case of Job. Chapter 7, the past and future of Mesopotamia, which is modern Iraq. From page 68 and 69, I added, the idea of distinguishing the two files are not necessarily purposed to grant one file at the expense of the other, but to contemplate each file's property and individuality in order to avoid blending both materials into one composition or into one conception. The method facilitated comparison with the evaluation and support of some theories presenting solutions and expressing opinion through a planned trip that includes, as I might call it, the 57 slowing down, contemplating stations, with 147 references and 117 illustrative pictures, maps, and diagrams. I wrote in page 52, archaeological achievement served to develop a greater understanding of some texts of the Holy Bible that concern the kings of Sumer, Babylonia, and Assyria, as well as the positions of the heroes and figures of epics, as Gilgamesh epic and the influences of some Mesopotamian gods that were mentioned in Erido epic of creation that they call it Enuma Elish. One of those gods, that's the most main important god in Mesopotamia, Marduk, which is Marduk, who was in charge of mankind's creation. Enuma Elish was discovered proudly by the Iraqi archaeologist Hormuz Drassam from 1848 until 1876 and obtained from the unearthed library of King of Assyria Ashurbanipal in Nineveh, which was dated in 650 BC. The discovery by itself alone reflects the close connection between Babylonia and Assyria. This discovery of Enuma Elish, this is Babylonia, and this is Assyria. There is about 700-800 distance between here and here. At that time, I don't know how they do the transportation, but I'm saying it impacts the fate of history of Mesopotamia when the details of the tasks and achievements of Babel god Marduk in Babylonia here discovered in Nineveh 500 kilometers away from Babylon, about 300 miles to the north of Babylon. The same distance, if we look at this distance, the same distance from Detroit, Michigan, and Chicago, Illinois, after passing and cutting as much as the width of two neighbor states, Ohio and Indiana, before approaching Chicago. The reason why it is desirable and important to study profoundly the ancient history and archaeology of Mesopotamia is because of God's will in the fate of previous kings and mighty empires, which caused to change the course of human history on earth. Now, also the book discussed the prophetic and theological dimensions that affected the destiny of Mesopotamia, and in order to reserve what remains from the dignity of the first humanitarian civilization heritage. I would like, from this place, I would like my book to be an urgent message to address the United Nations in order to create and establish an international decree considering all archaeological sites in present-day Iraq under the protection and direct supervision of UNESCO. As I detailed the necessity and advantage of this approach in last chapter of the book, chapter 7. The vision of how the structure of the book's chapter are built is intentionally designed to examine and evaluate the capability of the Holy Bible texts if they were the reason for providing a prosperous life and dignity for humankind during the last 7,000 years of history, and if its value would be effective and survive as an adaptable inheritance for the coming generation. From Nimrod to Nebuchadnezzar, and from Abraham to the Christ, and the change of the course of history. The civilization of Mesopotamia was established, strengthened, and spread over a period of 2,000 years from date of its founder, Nimrod, until the time of the ruler Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. The historical chronology according to the text of the Holy Bible, and we worry about this historical chronology, reveals to us that those 2,000 years are the same period between the time of Abraham and the birth of Jesus Christ, and also the same period in which inhabited world lived on earth from the time of the birth of Jesus Christ until now. Nimrod and Abraham's life, both of them, story began in Mesopotamia, but Abraham left the city of Ur. Or, on the other hand, they didn't say the city of Ur, they said the land of Chaldean, which more confirmed that he departed from southern current Iraq, as documented for us by the Greek translation of the Hebrew origin in 3000 BC in Alexandria. Abraham, leaving the country of his fathers and ancestors and settling in Canaan, was the beginning of the events that changed the course of history. And 60 years after the resurrection of Jesus Christ, who was born in Bethlehem, the Apostle John, who was exiled to the island of Patmos in the Mediterranean, documented for us everything that Jesus Christ had announced to him and guided him to record and document it in a book of Revelation, which talk about who Christ really is, what the state of the present world is, and what will happen in the future at the end of time, but not before the signs and wonders that will come and happen on the land of Mesopotamia, which have been discussed in the last chapter of the book, the past, present, and future of Mesopotamia. Okay, this is just it about. Okay. This figure shows that from page 273 of the book, The Departure of Abraham, those suggested Abraham's route are more applicable to historical and geographical facts and to the Bible text also, according to Joshua 24 from 2 to 4, and also from the Acts chapter 7 from 2 to 4, which makes Abraham cross the river Euphrates only one time, considering that the course of the river was previously west of the city of Ur. Abraham's departure. This is Ur of the Chaldean here. It was not at the same place now. It was, like, let's say here between Euphrates and Tigris. He departed from Ur the Chaldean. He traveled all the way to Babylon here, go up in Baghdad between Tigris and Euphrates. This is 65 kilometers between these two rivers. He get inside with all of his possession and Sarah and everybody, and go all the way to here and come to Haran, and crossed the Euphrates River one time, and he descended down to Canaan. From the other one, which is about Job, okay, here, page 342, according to Job chapter 1 from 13 to 17, I suggested the location of the land of Uz, where Job lived, and the traditional route and the attack of the Chaldean and Sabaeans, which might be located in the middle of the current common border between Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Iraq. Another one, where is the other opposite? Okay, here. In page 343, I suggested approximate distances surrounded the suggested location of Uz and the cities of Timan and Shawa from where Job's friend came to visit him. Job's three friends are Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuahite, Zophar the Naamathite. Hammurabi Codex is coming next because we're going through the chronology of the Holy Bible. Where is Hammurabi? Oh, let's go back. Okay. Oh. Okay, here. Page 14, the Hammurabi Codex, still with King Hammurabi's law. This is the most important masterpiece in the world. It's not only because I'm saying that. All the scientists and scholars and archaeologists agree that this is more important than any pieces in Egypt, Babylon, Assyria, everywhere in the world. And it is in the Louvre, a museum in Paris. The Hammurabi Codex, still with King Hammurabi's laws, was found in 1901 AD at Susa, present-day Shush in Iran, originated in Sippar, the ancient city in Iraq, dated 1750 BC. A dark, fine-grained volcanic rock named basalt. Her color by my own eyes was dark gray to black. I took that image in Paris 2014. At the top of the stele, Babylonian King Hammurabi from 1792 until 1750 is receiving the law from sun god Shemesh, the god of justice of Sippar, or perhaps not the god of justice. Nobody can confirm that. It might be Marduk by himself, the principal Babylonian god. It was found by the French Orientalists, Jean Vincent. It was discovered after study of, this is a very important point, I want to refer to it. It was discovered after study and examine the texts of the Old Testament in the Holy Bible, specifically relying on the 2 Chronicles, chapter 36 and verse 23. I have mentioned in page 46 and 47 of the book that Hammurabi Codex was moved in two stages. The first during the time of Cyrus, the king of Persia, who brought it from the city of Babel in present-day Iraq to Susa in present-day Iran, a distance of 1,200 kilometers, 750 miles. And in the second stage, it was moved in 1901 from Susa, Iran, to Paris, France. We go next to Sennacherib, or Sennacherib, which is here. Okay. Page 15, showing the king of Assyria, Sargon II, and Sennacherib, from 704 to 681. Assyrian King Sargon II at the right, and the heir to the throne, Sennacherib, at the left, who was later prevented from entering and attacking Jerusalem, because God the Lord has said, and talked in the mouth of Isaiah, which followed when the angel of the Lord went out and put to death 185,000 men in the Assyrian camp, according to the 2 Kings, chapter 19, from verse 32 to verse 37. This one is dated in 706 BC from Dur Sharukin, present-day Khorusabad, north of Nineveh in Iraq. We noted that Sennacherib, when he became king, he made Nineveh the new capital of Assyria Empire. Nothing too much left from the English presentation. We're almost done. The prophecies of Isaiah and the signs and the beginning of the collapse of Nineveh, the capital of Assyria, after the killing of the Assyrian king Sennacherib. The Lord spoke through the mouth of Isaiah in Isaiah book 37:7 that the Assyrian king Sennacherib will be killed by the sword upon his return to his capital, Nineveh. And this actually happened 20 years exactly later, according to Isaiah 37:37. Another thing about Jeremiah, the prophecies of Jeremiah and the arrival of Babylonian to the peak of its glory and the rule of the king Nebuchadnezzar of the throne of the world. 1,200, I did this is statistics, it was interesting. 1,254 verses are the sum of the 50 complete chapters of the total of 52 chapters of Jeremiah, which details the glories of Babylon and its preparations to dominate and rule the ancient world at the time of the rule of the Chaldean king Nebuchadnezzar. These 1,254 verses correspond and equal exactly to the same number of 11 complete chapters in the New Testament. The prophecies of Isaiah and Jeremiah were fulfilled literally about the fall of Nineveh first, then Babylonian second. And the book of Revelation tells us about the imminent events that will happen, and this is the announcement of Christ. It is not a kind of science fiction or the efforts of a writer or entertaining tales and the story about outer space. If God by himself is speaking in the mouth of the prophet Jeremiah about Babel, only about Babel, in the entire book of Jeremiah, which is equivalent to the size of 11 books in the New Testament. So I wonder why do something that Babel city and the Euphrates River, which John documented in his book, which is actually, it was the revelation of our Christ Jesus. And only signs or might be referred to Rome or Egypt or Sodom. Do this city overlook the Euphrates River? Or maybe the Euphrates River flow or refer to other rivers in Jordan or Rome or refer to Colorado River in USA that might be dry up in the future? The amount of information and news in the Holy Bible is very huge compared to the archaeological documents that were from the Bible. Therefore, archaeologists did not become scientists overnight if they had not become scientists in ancient history, the origins of civilization and languages, anthropology, and the science of ecology, and understanding the prophecies and theory of the Holy Bible. No one can claim to be an Assyriologist unless he gradually studied the science of archaeology, which began its existence and emergence after studying and understanding how those two great civilizations in Mesopotamia rose. I have two things here. Okay, where is that? When I was... Oh. Okay. From page 36, the last two images here. In 1989, the author celebrated with his son completing the project of the mountain of Saddam. That was constructed in the heart of the archaeological site in Babel in the summer of 1989. The author accompanies his son at the highest point in the archaeological site after he completed the project of constructing Saddam's mountain. The president of that country, he called it Saddam Mountain. And building spire-paved road to reach the summit on which the massive palace will be built after, overlooking the Euphrates branches of the river and all the antiquities, treasures, fences, gates, temples, and Nebuchadnezzar palaces. The last one is Ishtar Gate. Here. Page 116, Ishtar Gate and the throne room wall dated in 575 BC, constructed during the reign of Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar, 605 to 562, and dedicated to the goddess Ishtaroth, Ishtar, the goddess of war, love, and fertility, reconstructed in Berlin Museum, Germany. Thank you very much.